The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. We're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes, similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. We're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far.
Remember when Mark Zuckerberg was the third billionaire in line to kiss Trump's feet as soon as he won the election? Everyone knew it was to get on his good side so his business would benefit, but the fact that he's sitting on trial this week with the FTC means that it didn't work.
The FTC's argument is that Facebook's acquisitions of Instagram and WhatsApp were part of an illegal scheme to monopolize the market. The market, as the FTC defines it, is the personal social networking market, which they note is focused on sharing with friends and family. This case is rife with documents from Zuckerberg and his top team acknowledging that Facebook was falling behind. I mean, Facebook had done well in the desktop market, but when it came to smartphones, Facebook just wasn't able to cut it organically. And they started to panic as they saw companies like Instagram and WhatsApp really take off. And documents like that show that Facebook was losing faith in its own ability to compete. And a basic tenet of antitrust law is that you need to be able to get ahead in the market by competing fairly. But what we saw from Facebook was that if it couldn't outcompete its rivals, it decided to either buy them out or bury them.
So since Meta was on the hot seat for buying up Instagram and WhatsApp, instead of simply competing against these competitors in the social media space, Zuckerberg first tried to settle for a meager $450 million when the FTC was demanding $30 billion to make their seemingly airtight antitrust case go away. So when they told him to kick rocks with that offer, Zuckerberg took his rocks and tried cozying up to Donald Trump for help.
Meta also plans to get rid of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender and move their content moderation team from California to Texas, among other things, all essentially loosening up the way that Facebook moderates its content. This is all happening less than 2 weeks before President-elect Trump is sworn in, and as Zuckerberg and some of these other tech titans look to be making inroads with the incoming administration. After Mr. Trump's victory in November, Zuckerberg traveled to Mar-a-Lago. His company also donated about $1 million to the Trump Inaugural Fund. Keep in mind the backdrop here, right? Over the next 4 years, the Trump administration will set federal policy in areas like AI and antitrust that are really important to Meta and some of these other big tech companies, too.
It was a campaign of kissing up and becoming more MAGA-friendly that all the ghouls in Trump's orbit saw exactly for what it was.
Politico is reporting that Mark Zuckerberg was at Mar-a-Lago today meeting with President Trump. Can you confirm that?
Yes, that's correct. And Mark Zuckerberg has been very clear about his desire to be a supporter of and a participant in this change that we're seeing all around America, all around the world with this reform movement that Donald Trump is leading. Mark Zuckerberg, like so many business leaders, understand that President Trump is an agent of change, an agent of prosperity.
Right.
And so business leaders, CEOs, everywhere, they want to be an element, a supporter, a booster of making our economy prosperous, delivering for American workers, and making sure that America is the most powerful, wealthiest, freest nation on the face of the earth. So we'll see what comes of that. Yeah. And Mark, obviously, he has his own interests, and he has his own company, and he has his own agenda, but he's made clear that he wants to support the national renewal of America under President Trump's leadership.
And Meta said today it would stop putting fact checks on its website and instead allow community to
Well, I watched their news conference, and I thought it was a very good news conference. I think they've come a long way. Meta, Facebook, I think they've come a long way. I watched it. The man was very impressive. I watched it on Fox. I'm not allowed to say that. Say it?
Do you think he's directly responding to the threats that you have made to him in the past? With
Probably. Yeah, probably.
The Wall Street Journal had some devastating details behind Zuckerberg's newfound love of everything MAGA right before this week's trial kicked off. In recent months, Zuckerberg and his top aides have repeatedly met with Trump, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, and other administration officials. White House aides say Meta has been relentless in trying to get the case dropped, bringing in a group of officials beyond Zuckerberg. He himself visited the White House 3 times this year. Trump, at various points, appeared more open to striking a deal with Meta and Zuckerberg, directing staff to work on a deal and asking questions about how a settlement would work, according to people familiar with that matter. But Trump was also getting an earful from the other side. On April 8th, the new FTC chair, Ferguson, held a meeting with the president in the Oval Office to discuss the matter. Also present at the meeting were Gail Slater, the head of the Justice Department's Antitrust Division, Mike Davis, one of the key antitrust advisors to Trump, Wiles, and Ferguson's chief of staff. At the meeting, the group made its case for Trump not to intervene on Meta's behalf and to let the case go to trial. It got Trump's blessing to go to trial during that meeting. For Zuckerberg, who spent tens of millions in recent years aiming to rebuild his relationship with Trump, the failure to reach a deal pre-trial suggests he isn't getting much in return on his investment. Some people around Trump have warned the president that Zuckerberg's MAGA rebrand is disingenuous. On the call with the FTC, where he offered $450 million, Zuckerberg sounded confident that President Trump would back him up with the FTC. But in the end, he didn't. And now if Meta loses, Zuckerberg will not only get nothing for his ass-kissing and selling out of users, but Meta would be forced to break up the unfair monopoly it's building. At some point, people are going to learn not to trust Trump when he's giving them absolutely no reason to.
If Meta does lose this, what is at stake for the company?
Yeah, what would be at stake would be them having to divest WhatsApp and or Instagram or spin it off. And that could be a big, big, big thing for Meta, which is really trying to lean into using all of its platforms and incorporating its AI tools. They've been doing that slowly across Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. Wouldn't be able to do that if it were the case that they would be a separate company. So this would be a pretty substantial breakup.